Hi guys, it's been over a year now since I did the Mac versus PC talk about which one is better for audio production, and as of today, as of filming, there hasn't been a new MacBook in all that time, so let's talk about how that changes things and how that affects audio producers. So I've been looking at Apple's store because I've been interested in getting a new laptop. If you've seen the previous video, which I'll link here, I was talking about the Macbook Pro, which belongs to my friend and producer Chris, and I showed you my big chunky laptop. Now, that laptop is pretty much on death's door. It's going to laptop heaven. Not because it's a PC or because it's not a Mac, but because about nearly 12 months ago, it got dropped on its side, which was a very unfortunate accident. There was nothing anyone could have done. It wasn't even through negligence. It just happened. And at the time, apart from a few cracks and the screen being broken, which there's also a video that I did, which I'll link here, about replacing the screen. It was fine up until very recently, and it's decided to turn itself off at just random intervals, which is not great for taking out into the field and showing clients work. As a business kind of tool, I can't be doing that. So I thought I'd look, and I'm going to share this with you. I'm looking at the MacBook Pro and considering whether it's going to be worth it. Now, the choice now, there is no 17-inch MacBook anymore. I can live with that. But we've got 13-inch or 15-inch, and the prices are worrying me. Mostly because, like I said, there is no update yet. And I don't think anything on the 15-inch MacBook has been changed, apart from, what did it say? Oh, the new Force Touch trackpad, which I couldn't care less about because as an audio producer I need to be detailed in my work. I don't know about you guys, but I have to use a USB mouse because the level of precision that I need to be able to flick across the screen quickly, left click and right click as well. Right click is very important. I have to be able to dart in DAWs from this to that to this to that to this to that. And using any kind of trackpad, even the best trackpads, is just a waste of time. And I never particularly liked the trackpad that was on the laptop that I had, but then I never used it unless I just happened to be sat on the sofa with the thing, which was rare because it was quite a big chunky thing, but that it wasn't the kind of laptop you'd get to be sat on your lap while you're watching TV or whatever. It was a desktop replacement system, which really, for audio guys, is what we should be looking for. We should be looking for desktop replacement systems if it must be mobile, because the power that you're going to need to do all your plugins, to do all the real-time low latency processing is going to be huge. And that brings me on to the subject of the amount of processing, because that can be directly related to what generation of processor you're using. Now, let's just for the arguments of this video, just focus on Intel processors only. Just forget AMD for this argument, because Macs only use Intel processors, and most of the best, in my opinion, at the moment, processors in PCs are also exactly the same chips. So I'm on the tech specs page, and the 15-inch MacBook, the two choices, 2.2 GHz or 2.5 GHz quad-core Intel i7 processor. What? What people don't necessarily understand is an i7 better than an i5? Is that better than an i3? Technically, yes, but all the i3, i5 and i7 tells you is in that generation of processors, one is designed to be more powerful than the next. It's like the comparison that I use is, say, BMW's cars. They do the 3 Series, the 5 Series, the 7 series, and each one is bigger and more powerful than the next. However, if you were to offer me a BMW 7 series that's 15 years old and is knackered and is a bit like a chunky box, or if you were to offer me a BMW 3 series from this year that's brand new, I know which one I'd pick, and it's not the one with the bigger number. It can be to do with the design's age, because newer is almost always better, especially in technology, because the advancements mean that a given processor that's designed this year or last year, as opposed to several years ago, will do a lot more for the same clock speed, so the same, say, 2.2 gigahertz processor. If that's a newer processor, that's going to do a lot more for that 2.2 gigahertz than something that looks faster on paper but is much older, because it's all about efficiency. And newer processors can do so much more per instruction, per clock cycle, that it's almost impossible to compare. And the thing that worries me most about Apple's tech specs is that they're so vague. They don't even tell you which generation this is. They just keep it as vague as i7. i7 what? Now, I can do a bit of digging, because further down the page, let's have a look. So the storage is PCI-based flash storage. Yeah, that's great, but then a lot of PC laptops can do exactly the same now. 8 or 16 gigabytes of DDR3 onboard memory. That's worrying, because DDR3 is now an old technology. Pretty much every desktop computer that you buy is going to have DDR4 in, which is the latest generation, which leads me to wonder, so how old is this technology? In September and October of 2016, this is outdated technology. What's going on? So here's a little clue. In the graphics and video support, the 13-inch one says it's got Intel Iris graphics 6100. Now here's something that's interesting. That might just seem to be just a number, but the first number is 6. Now what the 6 means is that this is from the 6th generation of the i3, i5, i7 processors. Now that's very important, because that tells me that that's a Skylake processor. Now I don't know if you know the technical side, but Skylake is the code name for the most recently released generation of processors, which tells me this is the equivalent technically of the new stuff, which is good, because up until recently that was not available. At least I think the 6100. Let's just search Iris 6100 and just check. No, I am mistaken. 6100, the graphics is in the Broadwell chips, which is the last generation. So this is a generation old, despite the 6 in the name, which is really quite confusing. That's not great. So, looking further and further down, yada yada yada, looking at the tech specs, yeah, it's a Mac. We know what Macs look like and what they do. And hey, that's fine. If you're obsessed with OS X and the way that works, I know what you're going to buy. However, the price concerns me, because for audio, we don't need graphics power. Now, the two choices of the MacBook, one was nearly £1,600, and the other one is just shy of £2,000. £2,000. What's the extra £400 there for? Well, it's got a little bit more of hard drive space, and it's got an AMD Radeon at 370X, which is great for gaming and for potentially video editing. If you use something like Adobe Premiere and you use that a lot and they can justify the extra money, that makes sense. Although whenever it switches to use that graphics card, it's going to burn through power and the battery's just going to go. So either you're going to have to find a way to turn that graphics card off if you want to work with audio a lot on batteries, because otherwise that's going to burn through, because a lot of audio programs, as soon as you open up plugins, audio units, VST plugins, they all try and use the best graphics card that is in a computer. Why would they not? But that means that the battery will go from a 12-hour battery to suddenly 2-hour battery, because the thing that's inside there that uses a lot of power is suddenly turned on. And it's the equivalent of running a hairdryer off a battery. It's possible, but it's not going to last long. Now, what worries me really is that this hasn't been updated. There are rumours flying around that there's a new MacBook coming, but what's really worried me is that the last big Apple keynote presentation, this wasn't even mentioned. Not even given oh yeah, later in the year we've got a new Mac coming out, check that out. Not a word, which makes me think, how long are Apple going to be in the audio industry? How long are they going to be supporting what you're doing? And it's worrying, and that's one of the big reasons why I've stuck with PCs for production myself. Not because PCs are better than Mac, because I know a lot of you are going to say that, but because 5 years from now, PCs are still going to exist. Whereas Macs may not. And I'm not saying that just to be incendiary. I mean, the percentage of sales that Apple have in Macs compared to the amount of iPad and iPhone sales is next to nothing. And you've just got to think about that how long is it going to be before they go, we're spending a lot of money developing these things that aren't really selling. Why don't we just not sell them? Because that's what they did with the iPod Classic. They went, hey, we don't sell many of these anymore. Let's just not sell them. And then the board must have just gone, yep, sure, okay. So how long is it going to be before they bring the hammer down? And if they do, how long is it going to be before your equipment that you buy is not supported? Something that's worth thinking about. So I hope you found this enlightening, and I'll probably do another video as the next Mac refresh comes out, whenever that is. I hope you found this useful. If you hit the like button, and that's always appreciated, subscribe to the channel and you'll see more stuff about iPad audio production and guitar speaker comparisons and drum production techniques, mixing techniques, all the audio stuff. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.